So let's get started. So the midterm day is again Thursday, March 3rd, and there is a the exam session open hour. It's gonna be open from 9:20 to 11:20. So our class starts regularly at 10 a.m. But on this Thursday, I want you to come earlier, like 9:20, and then start to take um, the examination because 11:30. At 11:30, I have another class, so I cannot stay here. So I just set the exam time like this. Can everyone come, take the exam during this time period on this Thursday?
Professor, I have a class from 8:30 to 9:50.
Okay. 9:50.
So I have a class as well.
All right.
But I will try to come early.
You know what?
Yeah.
There is a time limitation. It's 90 minutes. So after 90 minutes, it's gonna be the test session is automatically closed. So you don't need to worry about it. Again, everyone. So this Thursday, March 3rd, you're gonna take the midterm. You must take the midterm to pass this course. And the exam open hour is from 9:20 to 12 p.m. And the exam will be closed after this time period. And after this time period, you cannot take the midterm. So please keep in mind. And again, there is a time limitation. It's 90 minutes test hour. And you are not going to come to this meeting room. You're going to straightly go to the Moodle room and go find the week 8 and click Art 100 033 midterm examination. Let me show you where it is. So it's right here. Please go to week 8. Then when you scroll down, the test session is already created. So on the test day, you can click this session, then you can take the midterm. So this is the right exam open time period. And please review all your answers before you finish the test session. You will see a finish attempt button at the end of the examination. Then you have to click that button to finish the exam. But before you hit the button, please review all your answers again. And because the attempt will be allowed only one time. And you will see 30 questions in the midterm, 27 multiple choice questions, which are 3 points each, and 2 short answer questions, 3.5 points each, and 1 essay question, which is 12 points. This essay question, for this essay question, you will see a work of art, and you have to write what kind of themes of art the artist use, and you're going to analyze the work of art based on the formal analysis. We're going to talk about this soon. Any question about this? No?
No.
All right. So during this exam open time period, I'm gonna stay here in the meeting room for the to help your technical issue or, other, issue about the test. But you don't need to come here in the meeting room. Now, you're gonna straightly go to the model room and take the exam. You don't need to come here, and your attendance will be checked automatically when you take the midterm. So let's get started. So this is the first chapter. We learned what is art. So this is Marcel Duchamp's Fontaine work. And these types of art is called ready-made, which means an artist doesn't make an art piece, but only designs it as a work of art. So these types of art was introduced in the modern and the postmodern time period. Katerina, are you okay? All right. So, so the idea of art has changed by history. In ancient time, art means totemic. In Middle Age, art was craft, and the Renaissance, art is painting, sculpture, architecture with the skilled technique. And in modern and postmodern, art means diverse genre, like the ready-made. And we learned art and beauty. So art can produce pleasure, but it can also inspire, sadness, horror, pity, all, and a full range of other emotions. So art can be beautiful, but not all art tries to be beautiful. The beauty is not a requirement for art. That was the main point. So for example, this work shows sadness, and this work shows pessimistic view of human nature. And also we learned art and appearance. So these are the Pablo Picasso's work. When you see the left one, it has a perfect technique, perfect skill on this painting. And Pablo Picasso mastered this representational technique when he was a teenager. But suddenly he abandoned this traditional style of art, and he created a new style of art, like the abstract art. There was a huge invention at that time. Do you remember why? What was the reason? Why Pablo? What?
Was it because of newspaper?
I'm sorry, it's not. It was a photography. So photography was invented. No, for some artists, photography meant the end of a painting. So manual skills were no longer needed to create a visual record. So that's why many modern artists created a new style of art. To see and find meaning of art, you have to check the form and the content, and you can see the meaning of art through the materials and the techniques, or iconography means describing images, and through the context, you can see the meaning of art. Now let's move on to the themes of art. So this chapter is one of the important chapter for the last essay question. Themes of art. So like I said, you will see essay question, and you have to write a theme of art, of a work of art in this question. That will be 2 points, and you have to write one of these. we learned the sacred ram and politics and the social order, stories and histories, picturing the here and now, invention and fantasy, the natural world, and reflecting on the human experience. So you have to find one of the answer.
Professor, I have a question.
Mhm.
For this question, how many lines at least we have to write?
As much as you can.
Okay. All right. Got
Yep.
it.
All right. So when you see a work of art, please choose one of the theme of art in this options. And then you're going to proceed a formal analysis about the work of art. So here is a big hint. You will see the work of art for this essay question in this chapter. So you will see one of this work of art through this chapter. So let's see what kind of examples we can see. So this is the sacred ram and the politics and the social order. And here's another politics and the social order work. And stories and the histories, picturing the here and now, invention and fantasy, the natural world, reflecting on the human experience. So like I said, you will see one of the work of art in this chapter, and you have to write which theme of art the artist use. And now let's talk about the formal analysis. So you're going to proceed a formal analysis for the work which is based on the visual elements and the principles of design. So here is the formal analysis definition, which is the process of analyzing the elements and the principles used by the artist. So you must find, all of the, not all of the, as much as you can, many of the visual elements and the principles of design when you proceed the formal analysis. So here is the list. The visual elements include line, shape and mass, light, color, texture and pattern, space, time and motion. And the principles of design include unity and variety, balance, emphasis and subordination, scale and proportion, and the rhythm. So you cannot just mention these titles in the writing question. You have to find the specific factors of the for example, line, maybe the function of the line or direction of the line, that kind of things. And there are many specific terms in the color, like primary, secondary, tertiary color, or complementary color, or optical color mixture effect, that kind of things. So I want you to mention that kind of specific factors in these visual elements and the principles of design when you proceed the formal analysis to get the high score. So now let's see.
Excuse me, Professor. All all this stuff you're explaining is what going to be coming on the exam, the midterm.
Can you say again, Rexford?
This was going to be coming on the midterm. Like some of the questions are going to be coming on the midterm.
Yes.
So is the midterm an essay?
Midterm is Thursday.
No, it's an essay midterm. We got to do an essay. Or
yes. You will see one essay question in the midterm.
So we got enough time to do.
Yep, it's enough time.
So what about drawing or multiple questions? So.
Yes. So you will see all 30 questions and 27 multiple choice question and 2 short answer question and 1 is essay question. Just try to write as much as you can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that is gosh. Chloe, don't you roll the. You have to open the door?
Yeah.
Katerina?
Yes, Professor.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, do you have any question?
No, I'm right here. I'm okay with it.
Okay, then I'm gonna just, put you on mute.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. All right, so let's see the visual elements in detail. So in this, visual elements and the, I just want you to review this chapter and the principles of design chapters carefully, because you will see lots of questions, lots of multiple questions through these chapters. So if you review, these two chapters carefully, then, you're gonna just, write the essay question easily. So again, the visual elements are here: line, shape, and mass, light, texture and pattern, space, color, time and motion. So let's see the line first. So there are three primary functions in line of art. Two, the first one is to record the borders of form. And the second is to describe surfaces and shapes. And the third one is to convey direction and motion. So this is contour line and this is an outline. The difference is the contour line, it doesn't have any defined line, right? But we can recognize there is a circle because of the color and the shading. And the outline is, literally, it has the, defined line through this shape. So that's the difference. And the implied line is very similar concept with the contour line. So based on the artist's perfect skills, we can see there is an apple without the defined line. That is called implied lines. A line has direction and movement in art: horizontal lines, vertical lines, and diagonal lines. The horizontal lines shows calm and quiet, and vertical lines more of a potential for movement, and diagonal lines shows strong movement and vitality. So for example, in this work of art, what kind of direction of line can you find, everyone? I just showed you horizontal, vertical, and diagonal lines. What kind of line can you find?
Diagonal lines.
Perfect. You're so ready to take the midterm. Very good. So now let's move on to the shape and mass. So the actual object in an art is called positive shape, and the background is called negative shape. And this is the same. This is the figure, and that is positive shape, and the background is here, also called ground, is negative shape. And let's see the implied shapes. So you can recognize there is a triangle here by psychological connection of the edges. That is called implied shapes. Now let's move on to the light. So light is represented in works of two-dimensional art to define and describe figures and spaces. So artists create implied lines, implied light with the modeling mass on the two-dimensional surface to create the three-dimensional images. So that is called implied light. So artists can use value scale skills to create the implied light and texture and pattern. So these are the actual texture, and there is a visual texture, which is implied sense of texture. So visual texture refers to an implied sense of texture that the artist create through the use of various artistic elements such as line, shading, and color. And pattern. Pattern is any decorative, repetitive motif or design in abstract ideas. So we can just move on here. And space. Artists can create implied space on the two-dimensional surface with three style of perspective skills. The first one is this, linear perspective. So here is the 1-point linear perspective on the, with the vanishing point on the center, which is good to create perspective for the compacting many objects in a limited space. And here is foreshortening, which is a technique used in perspective to create the illusion of an object receding strongly into the distance or background. So it looks a little bit more dynamic compared to the linear perspective. This is the atmospheric perspective. This perspective technique is used for this kind of landscape or work of art. Now let's move on to the color. So this is a color wheel. We learned primary color, secondary color, and tertiary color. And there are color proportions. Properties: hue, value, and saturation. The hue is the name of the color, like red, orange, yellow, like that. And value is the lightness or darkness of the color. And the saturation is the purity of a color. And there are two ways to see the colors by light, which is additive color, by pigment, which is the subtractive color. So this is the additive color, which is called also RGB color. That is the light base again. And subtractive color is also called CMYK color, which is the pigment base, like the printing colors. And color can create the optical effects. The most popular thing is simultaneous contrast. So when there are two colors side by side, so these colors interact with one another and change our perception accordingly. So for example, complementary color. So Vincent van Gogh loved to use complementary colors. So complementary color means the, there is a color wheel and the opposite sides of color, they are called like complementary colors. So for example, on the left work, he used blue color and orange color. So these are the opposite color on the color wheel called complementary color. On the right painting, he used green color and the red color. So these are the opposite color on the color wheel, which is complementary colors to create the optical effects of color. And artists can also create the optical color mixture. So like this. So on the left box, it has tons of red and blue dots in it. And with your eyes half closed, you will see purple color in this box. So that is optical color mixture. And time and motion. So there is an implied motion in art. We do not actually see the motion happening, but visual clues tell us a motion, like this. So the figures poses are so dynamic, right? And very theatrical. So we could feel we are in the middle of the action. So that is called implied motion. Also, artists can create an illusion through visual tricks that is called illusion of motion, like this work of art. And all kinds of movement art is called kinetic art. So the visual elements chapter is done. Now let's move on to the principles of design. So principles of design are here: unity and variety, balance, scale and proportion, emphasis and subordination, pattern and rhythm. So unity is the sense of oneness, and variety means differences. And so these are look like a so looks like a totally opposite concepts, but all kinds of artworks include unity and variety together. For example, in this work, so Jackson Pollock used the same action painting technique, like the splashing, the household painting on the work surface. So that is the oneness to repeat the same action. But the shapes, the splashing shapes are random and the colors are different. So that parts can be the variety. So as you can see, the unity and the variety are together in the work of art. Now let's see the balance. So balance refers to apparent heaviness or lightness. So we learned symmetrical balance and asymmetrical balance. Symmetrical balance is the mirror image of the shapes or forms on either side of an imaginary axial dividing line like this. So the elements correspond to one another in size, shape, and placement. And the asymmetrical balance, the left side, the two sides that do not correspond to one another in size, shape, and placement. And we learned 6 types of general asymmetrical balance types. So for example, this work, there is a dark form and the light form of the same size, and the dark form is heavier than the light one. So which is the second types of asymmetrical balance. And let's move on to the scale and proportion. So scale is the size of an object and proportion is the relationship in size. So the scale of a work of art communicates ideas. Small scale pieces force viewers to come in close to experience the work of art, and a large scale work can be experienced by groups of viewers, and they usually communicate big ideas. And the proportion. So proportion is the relationship between the sizes of different parts of a work make up its proportions. So the most popular proportion types the artists use from since the ancient time is the golden section. So like this, the Parthenon, Athens used the golden section proportion. And now let's move on to the emphasis and subordination. So in art, emphasis is the principle by which an artist draws attention to content. And the focal point is a specific spot to which one's attention is directed. And the subordination is less visually interesting area. So for example, in this work, these two figures are emphasis, and between these two figures, this young boy is the focal point. And the rest of the part is subordination. Fred,
Yes.
do you have any question?
I was mistakenly pressed it. Sorry for that.
Okay. It's all right.
I will get something.
All right. Let me just put you on mute. All right. And in this work, the light part is the emphasis area, and this innocent guy is the focal point, and the rest of the part, the dark part, is the subordination. The pattern. So a design repeated as a unit in a pattern is called a motif. So when we repeat this motif, then we can create a pattern. So we just done with the principles of design and the visual elements. Let me just show you an example to process the formal analysis, which is the hardest part in this midterm. So let's see this example. So I can say the balance first with the asymmetrical balance type. So this looks like now using the second asymmetrical balance type, like the dark form and the light form of the same size, right? And it seems like the dark form is heavier than the light one. Also, I can see these two figures are the emphasis in this work of art, but she's wearing a green dress, and her right side background is the the red color. So these are the complementary colors now to make the the optical color. I mean the contrast of the color. So I can assume this lady is the focal point in this work of art. And also the artist used the linear perspective in this work of art with the a vanishing point on the center of this work to compact many objects in a limited space. So that kind of thing is the formal analysis. So as you can see, you can just, analyze a work of art based on the visual elements and the principles of design you learned. You don't need to know the artist's name or the title of the work or the creation year or the context or background of a work. You don't need to know, and you don't know it, right? So you're gonna just analyze a work of art based on the visual elements and the principles of design like I did. So now let's move on to the next chapter. So in this chapter, the drawing, you will see just, the dry material, graphite, and the metal point, which is the, the ancestors' drawing tool, and the charcoal, and the crayon, pastel, chalk. And in this chapter, we learned collage. Now, Georges Braque, who is Pablo Picasso's friend, invented this types of art, and many artists adopted this method of composing a picture by gathering bits and pieces from various sources. So this is the example of the collage work. Now, let's move on to the painting. In this chapter, we learned 4 types of traditional painting types: fresco, tempera, oil, acrylic. So fresco is a wall painting technique since ancient time with the plaster support, and tempera paintings using the egg yolk as a vehicle, and it dries very quickly. And the oil paint consists of pigment pounded with oil, and it dries at the room temperature, and it can revise on a work surface. And the last one, acrylic paint, which is strong, weatherproof industrial paint, and it can mimic the effects of oil paint and the watercolor by concentration of water. Now let's move on to the prints. In this chapter, we learned the first four traditional print styles: relief, intaglio, lithography, screen printing. This is the relief printing, and this is the side view of the plate, and the top part, the raised area, hold the ink. That all types of this kind of printing technique is called relief. And there are three types of relief, like woodcut, wood engraving, and lino cut. So these two, woodcut and wood engraving, is using the wood block, and lino cut is using the linoleum. That's just the difference. And now let's move on to the intaglio. This is the opposite way of the relief. So this is the side view of the plate, the printing plate, and the incised area, like the drawing area, hold the ink. The scratched part is hold the ink, or depression part is holding the ink. That is called intaglio. And we saw 3 intaglio techniques: dry point, etching, and aquatint. So it looks like this. So the dry point is using the dry point needle to make a scratch, to create the drawing on the plate, and just put the ink and print it. So that's dry point. And the etching is slightly different with the dry point. So the drawing process is same with the needle on the metal plate, but the plate is putting in a acid bath to make the depression on the plate. So it looks like deeper than the dry point. And the aquatint, for the aquatint, printmakers are not using the any needle. It's just made by the acid depression. So that's the difference. Lithography. So lithography is totally different techniques with relief and etching, we just saw. So there is no curving, needle drawing, or acid depression. So here is the steps. Now this is the limestone. So lithography is using the limestone to as a plate, and then the printmaker draw an image with the grease pencil, so, which is the oil base. And this oil base grease pencil hold the ink, and the rest of the part repel the ink. So that's lithography. The last one, the screen printing. So screen printing is called silk screen or serigraphy. So there is a screen, and the image area pass the ink, and the rest of the area is blocking the screen. And when they make printing, the printmaker using the squeezy to squeeze the ink on the screen. So this is the screen printing example. Now let's move on to the sculpture. In this chapter, we learned the traditional sculpture style and the innovative sculpture styles. So these are the traditional sculpture style. There are 2 ways: subtractive and additive. In the subtractive, carving, drilling, chiseling, chipping, whittling, sawing. In editing, we learned modeling, casting, constructing. So these are the example of the traditional sculpture style. And now we will see innovative sculpture style. So there are artwork, construction, assemblage, ready-made, we saw it, kinetic and light sculpture, and installation. Now let's see the last chapter for the midterm, photography. So this is the camera obscura. Now the mathematician and the physicist Alhazen discovered the behavior of the light through this dark chamber room, which is called the camera obscura. And the camera obscura developed as the drawing tool to make the preliminary steps of drawing or the perspective with the chiaroscuro in the Renaissance era. And this is the modern camera. It looks like very complicated, but the basic mechanism is same. Same with the camera obscura. So here are mirrors and the light. Go to the mirror, the first mirror, and go to the second mirror, and then we will see the object not upside down. So that's the basic mechanism of the camera. So we learned the brief history of the camera. There was two French inventors, Niepce and Daguerre, and the Daguerre made the breakthrough, and this is the first photography in the world. So that is called daguerreotype. But the daguerreotype was ultimately as a issue. The plate is the photography. So that the photography is printed on the plate, so it cannot reproduction. But later, photography can create the negative plate, so it can be reproduced again and again. And there is a very innovative camera, Kodak, made by American guy George Eastman. The camera's name is Kodak, with the a roll of film. So that's it. Again, the test session will be opened. So again, this Thursday, you're going to take the midterm, March 3rd. You must take the midterm in this time period from 9:20 to 12 p.m. After this time period, the test session will be closed. You cannot take the midterm. So you must take the midterm in this time period. And if you don't take the midterm, you cannot pass this course. So I want you to take the midterm on this Thursday. And there is a time limitation, which is 9 minutes. And you are not going to come here, meeting room. You're going to straightly go to the Moodle room and go to week 8 and click the test session to take the midterm. And please review all your answers before you finish the test session, because attempt will be allowed only one time. And you will see 30 questions, 27 multiple choice questions, and 2 short answer questions, and 1 essay question. And when you review all the chapters, of course, you're gonna review the the lecture slides, and I want you to check each page of the chapter, and please watch all of the videos again. Also, I want you to check the the sketchbook project slide as well.